guys, it's Jodie and welcome to a new video. So today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that are on my November TBR, and I'm so excited because I will be continuing to read some spooky, cozy, atmospheric books, and I just cannot wait. November is another one of my favourite months of the year. It's cozy, it's cold, and it's just the perfect time to read a lot. So speaking of the perfect reading atmosphere, vibe, setting, whatever you want to call it, I would like to take the time to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Serious Readers. So some of you may have seen them in a previous vlog of mine. I will link it up here if you guys want to watch that. But they specialise in creating the perfect reading light, and I can confirm it is indeed perfect. I absolutely adore my reading light. I've been using it for almost a month now, and it's just so perfect in every way. I love it, and yeah, I'm just so happy to be able to curl up inside while it's cold outside and read a good book and get all cozy. It's just the best. So before we do get into the book, so let's just quickly talk about this reading lamp. So Serious Readers uses daylight wavelength technology, which is really good because basically it replicates daylight. So when you're reading, it feels like you're reading in the day. It's really comfortable, and I love the light because it has various settings where you can increase and decrease how bright it is, which I just think is amazing. And the reading light I have is fully flexible, so you can adjust it to exactly how you need it, which makes it just really easy to get comfortable. So I have mine by my bed, and I honestly love it so much. I have been reading in bed even more than usual in the evenings before I go to sleep, which has been so nice. It's just so nice to get cozy under some blankets, to get a hot mug of tea, to curl up with a book and just have the perfect reading light and just vibes. It's just my favorite thing. So obviously with it being dark at like 4 p.m. in the UK now, this light could not be more perfect. So I would highly recommend you guys check out the link in the description box. I will list the exact light that I use and all of the information you need down below. Based in the UK, they make their lights in the UK, and their lights are fully customizable, so you can get them to exactly how you like. You can change the color, the metal, or you can get a heavy or lightweight base, and you can get a table or a floor light. So there's plenty of different options to find the perfect light for you. When you buy one of the lights from this Serious Readers range, which I'll have listed on the screen here, you get a free compact light with it. So I do have one of the compact lights as well, which I use on my desk for journaling and reading, and that one as well I think is my favorite out of the two. Like, I literally am obsessed with it. It's just so good and exactly what I've been looking for so long. But yeah, all of the information regarding which light I have and my code for you guys to be able to get the free compact light with a purchase of one of the lights I just mentioned is down below in the description box. So once again, thank you so much to Serious Readers for sponsoring this video. I would highly recommend you guys go and check them out because honestly I don't know how I could live without a reading light now, to be honest, especially now that it's so dark in the UK. It's just literally been a lifesaver. So yes, thank you so much to them for sponsoring this video, and let's get into all of those cozy atmospheric books that are just perfect for November. So the first book is actually a book that was on my October/Vampathon TBR, and I did very briefly start it but then decided I wasn't in the mood, and that is Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. So this is the second book in the Vampire Academy series. I got one chapter in and a prologue, so I'm on page 23, and I have not read any more of this. I would like to continue on with this series this month because I do really want to finally read this. I've read the first book twice, and I tried to read this for Vampathon last year and obviously this year and failed. So I would definitely like to try and finally get through this because I've heard that the plot gets so much better from the third book onward, and there's a lot of character development, and now I just really want to read them all. But basically in this book series we have a main character called Rose, who's a Damphier. I honestly have no idea how to say it or what they're called, but she's half human, half vampire, and she is training to become a guardian who protect the Moroi, who are like the vampires in this world who have like elemental magical like power kind of things. So they protect them, and then we have Strigoi, which are the bad vampires who kill people, and we don't like them. So yeah, Rose is like trained to be a guardian. She is protecting a princess of the Moroi, and this princess is going through like a whole host of things as well, and lots of people are trying to find her. She has some special like abilities, and her and Rose have this really cool connection, and Rose is just a badass and I love her. So yeah, that's kind of the basics. It's a vampire novel. It's set in a school in the first one, but yeah, I'm really enjoying these. There's romance and lots of things going on in here, so it's just a really fun YA story, but I just love these. They're just like a really fun read, so I definitely do want to finally read this one. Then next, to continue these spooky witchy vibes, we have Hex Appeal, and this is by Kate Johnson. So this this one I don't know that much about. I bought this on a recommendation from someone. I've seen a few booksellers talk about this book and it came up recommended for fans of the X-Hex. So I believe this is a witchy rom-com. I believe this is set in Essex and we have like a coven of witches, and then this guy like is like their new landlord, and it says here he's just discovered his tenants haven't paid rent since the 1700s, and he's like drawn in to like these women, and I think he begins to form a romance with our main character who is a witch, and it goes from there. So yes, I love anything witchy and romance. It's like one of my favorite things, so I'm very excited to read this one, and it will be fun to continue the spooky romantic books on through November. So next we have my Patreon buddy read for the month, which is The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. I am so unbelievably excited to read this book. I love Shea Earnshaw's writing. I read Long Live the Pumpkin Queen last month and loved it. Her writing is so immersive and beautiful, definitely one of my favorites, and I've been meaning to read this for so long, so I was so happy on this one to be our book club pick of the month. So this is a witchy book. Basically in this we had like 3 women, I think, who were sentenced to death like a few centuries ago in this small town, and like every summer I think they come back to claim lives of like boys, I think, or something. And we have our main character, and then we have this guy who has no idea about this, and I think he's about to fall victim to these 3 like ghostly women, and our main character I think saves him, and a romance blossoms from there. That's kind of the gist of it. I don't want to read too much into the synopsis because this is just an author whose writing I really enjoy, and I just like to read her books not knowing too much about them because they're just so interesting. And I literally adored Winterwood by this author that I read a couple of years ago. It was just an incredible book, and I have very high hopes for this one, especially because it has witchy vibes. And also, can we just take a moment for this cover? It's so beautiful. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this one. I will be filming a spoiler-filled vlog that will be going up over on my Patreon, and I feel like I'm gonna love this. I'm predicting 4 to 5 stars, so I really hope it doesn't let me down. So this next book is a bit of a random one, but again, continuing on the spooky Halloween theme. This one I'm gonna read for a 24-hour readathon I'm doing with my patrons, which is Halloween Fiend, or Fiend, I never know how to say that, by C.V. Hunt. So this is a super short book. It's literally just over 100 pages, and honestly I knew nothing about this. I bought it because I'm really enjoying shorter books at the moment, especially short kind of horror stories, and I believe this is a horror. I believe it's very scary, and it's centered around Halloween, and I think it's about this town who's haunted by some kind of creature. So I just thought it sounded really cool and would be so fun to read during a readathon. So I'm very excited to read this, and I hope it's good. I haven't heard too many people talk about it, so I don't really have any expectations, but I'm hoping it will be like a really fun quick read and it will scare me. I have yet another witchy book on my TBR, which is The Witch Haven. This is by Sasha Payton Smith. I kind of impulse bought this book last month, and the reason I put it on my TBR is because during Vanthom I hosted some reading sprints, and there was someone on those sprints reading this book, and they were saying it was absolutely amazing, and it made me want to read it. So the only thing I know is that there's this girl, and I think she maybe murders a man or something. Like something happens, there's some kind of accident, and her scissors are like in this dude's neck. He's dead in front of her feet, and she's like, what the hell? And then I think she gets sent to this like witchy academy somewhere, and there I think there's this boy like haunting her dreams and all this stuff, and she's becoming quite powerful. I think there's some people kind of after her because of her power. And yeah, there's this mysterious boy as well. That's pretty much all I know. I believe this is witchy, it has mystery in it, it also has romance and conspiracy, so I'm very excited to read it. I haven't heard too much about it, I've just seen it pop up here and there, but like I said, I love a good witchy kind of romance story, so I thought this would be perfect to add on to my November TBR to keep the spooky vibes going a bit longer, and because the person on my live show really loved this book. So if you are that person, please let me know your thoughts once you finished it down below. But I'm very excited to give this a go, and I hope that it will be good. Okay, so next we have a book I can't wait to read because I've heard this is like a nice cozy fantasy, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. And this cover I love. This recently just got published in the UK, although I do kind of really want the US cover because I just think it's so gorgeous. I don't know a lot about this except it's supposed to have cozy vibes and coffee. So basically there's this like barbarian person who hangs up their sword, and they have their sights set on opening like this little coffee shop. And it says here that Legends and Lattes is a cozy, heartwarming story of found family, fresh starts, and the perfect cup of coffee. I've seen it be praised everywhere, and as soon as I heard that it was like cozy and coffee shop and fantasy, I immediately wanted to read it, and I'm very excited to give it a go. I feel like I'm going to read this so fast. I might read this for my readathon, but I feel like because it is like a cozy story, it's perfect for November. It's perfect for those dark, cold evenings where you do want to curl up with a coffee and read a nice cozy story. So I will definitely be doing that in November with this book, and I'm so excited. So this next one I'm hoping to read, but I don't know for sure if I will. This one I've heard about on Book Talk, and I think I bought this a couple of months ago. And I recently read a book called Fear the Flames by one of my friends on Instagram called Olivia Darling, and it was one of my favorite books I've ever read. Like, when you read a book and you get reminded why you love reading so much and you love these fictional places, and it gives you that giddy, amazing feeling. This book had that for me, and it has now put me in a fantasy kick, more specifically a fantasy romance kick. Like, I just want to consume fantasy romance. Like, I am so in the mood for it. And I was looking at my bookshelves and trying to find some books that I was like in the mood for that are similar, because that book has definitely put me in a bit of a hangover. Like, it was so good. I need book 2 immediately. Like, I am literally so obsessed with it. I may even reread it, and this book is nearly 800 pages long, and I read it in less than 24 hours because it is that good. So I need something that's going to give me those same feelings or close to those feelings. So I thought I'd pick this one up, and that is The Bride of the Shadow King by Sylvia Mercedes. So this is the first book in a series, I believe, and we have the Shadow King who comes to this human kingdom, I think, to take a bride because of some kind of like alliance treaty thing, I think, between them. And he chooses this girl's sister, but he can't stop thinking about her older sister, and I think her older sister must travel to where they are to try and save her sister, but then I think maybe they fall in love somehow. That's kind of the gist of it, but I just really want a good fantasy romance with a really cool world, some interesting world building. And I feel like this might deliver because I have heard very good things about this, and this book is truly beautiful. Like, under the dust jacket is like this, and then the chapter things in here are just like, I was so shocked when I saw this. Like, every single chapter has this. Like, look at this. Like, why don't more books do stuff like this? Like, the self-published books always do it the best. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to read this one. I feel like I'm gonna love it. I feel like it's gonna maybe fill part of the kind of fantasy romance shaped hole in my heart at the moment. So very, very excited for this one. And if you've read it, please do let me know your thoughts down below. I am also planning to pick up a few fantasy romance books on my Kindle, so I don't know for sure which ones I'll read, but if you have any recommendations, let me know down below. I read so much quicker when I read on Kindle, so I really want to read some good fantasy romance. So if you have any recommendations that are on Kindle Unlimited, please let me know down below, because I'll definitely be reading those. But I have 3 more books to talk about which aren't fantasy romance but are spooky, atmospheric, gothic books. So this one wasn't on my TBR last month, but I did buy it, and I think I spoke about it in my Vampathon vlogs. But that is an anthology of folk horror, and this is called The Gathering Dark. This is by a multitude of different authors. So we have Hannah Witton, Chloe Gong, to name a few. This is a collection of folk horror tales, and I just really, really want to read it. I just think this is going to be a gorgeous book. I love short stories, and I've never read anything by Chloe Gong before, so I feel like this will be fun to read and get a little taste of her writing. And I just want to keep the spooky vibes alive, and I feel like reading like a short story from this every now and again is going to be perfect throughout the month of November. And I'm obsessed with this cover. So yeah, hopefully this will be really, really good. It's not too long either, but the text is really tiny, so I don't know how long it'll take me to get through, but hopefully I do make it through it in November. Then we have a sequel to a book I read in October, which is Clown in a Cornfield 2, which is called A Friendo Lives. This is by Adam Caesar. So I read the first book last month. I will link the vlog up here, which I read it in. This is a young adult horror slasher book, and it is very Stephen King-esque. It has small town vibes, murder, horror, badass characters. It's very tense. I really, really enjoyed the first book. I think I gave it 4 stars, and we have like killer clowns and stuff in here, small town. It's just really good. And the way the first book ended was kind of on a cliffhanger, and it made me kind of scared. So I'm excited to see how this book will turn out. And I think this book is going to be a lot about revenge as well. So I'm very, very excited to read it. And I'm probably going to pick this up on audio during another readathon. So I thought I'd add it to my TBR. And then the final book on my TBR this month is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I cannot wait to read this because Kat read this during Vampathon, and she said it was one of her favourite books she's now read. She said it's very eerie and gothic and atmospheric. The murder mystery in here is really good, and the romance, and I love all of those things. So combine them together, and I feel like this is probably going to be a 4 or 5 star read. Yeah, very, very excited. She thinks I'm going to love it. Basically in this, I think we have this woman, and she had a boyfriend in high school who was accused of murdering, I think, her best friend, and then he fled, and he was never actually convicted, I think, of the crime, but he was very much suspected of it, and he fled. Obviously she was heartbroken, and then years later he comes back to this small town. It's kind of rooted in suspicion and folklore and really kind of weird, and I think it's about kind of discovering who really murdered her best friend. I think it was her best friend, but I might be wrong. And I think it's like a second chance romance as well. So I'm very excited to read this because it just sounds so interesting. It has thriller vibes and romance vibes. So yeah, I really do hope that I do love this, and I do have very high expectations for this book, but we'll see how it goes. And then lastly, I just have some manga to quickly talk about. So the first manga I really want to read is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and this is the complete manga collection. I really like the art style inside, and I've heard that it is a very good manga, so I really want to read some more like collections. So I thought I'd just pop this on my TBR. I think a lot of the themes in here are mostly to do with friendship, so yeah, hopefully this is a good one, but I'm gonna go into it not knowing anything. I feel like it will be really fun. Then continuing on from my TBR last month, I have Frankenstein by Junji Ito. This was on my Vampathon TBR and I did not get to it, so I would like to read it this month. I always try to read at least one Junji Ito per month, and I was saving this for Vampathon but then didn't read it. So this is Junji Ito's kind of reimagining of Frankenstein with some other short stories in here, so I'm very excited. Kat said this is really good, so I'm definitely going to try and read this finally in November. And then I also have another collection of manga. So I think this has volumes 1 to 3 in of The Girl from the Other Side. I read the first volume last year, I think, and I loved it. It's kind of like a found family vibe. It's very whimsical, also spooky, and just really fun. I can't actually remember much of the plot, but I really enjoyed it and the art style. So I figured this would be perfect to pop on my TBR because I can read a few volumes in one go, and I just really want to read it. Like, I just love how it looks inside. Like, the art is so cute, and I love the little girl in here, and it was just a really nice vibe. So I feel like this is like a perfect cozy manga that's like still fantasy, so very excited to pick this one up, and I think I am gonna absolutely love every single volume in here. And then the last one I have on my TBR is Creepy Cat Volume 4. So I've read the first 3. This is really nothing special. The story's kind of confusing sometimes and doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's the cats. I read for the creepy cats because they're just so entertaining. I mean, come on, look at this dude. Like, how can I not read for him? Like, I'm just reading for the cats. Speaking of cats, my cat is in my wardrobe trashing it. What are you doing? So yeah, it's based off this gal and a bunch of creepy cats. That's pretty much it. It's really fun. So I'm gonna read volume 4 because I recently picked this up. So yeah, that concludes everything that is on this month's TBR. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them. Also, don't forget to let me know which books you're planning to read in November, and if you have any Kindle Unlimited fantasy romance recs, make sure to leave them down below. I just need all of them immediately. I just really need the same feeling that Fear of the Flames gave me. And don't forget to check my description box for a list of all of the books I've talked about, as well as the link and code and details for serious readers. Like I've already said, I really would highly recommend them. They are such a wonderful company, and I've really enjoyed working with them, and I love their lights so much. So hopefully you guys love them as much as me, but I'll have everything you need down below, along with the links to all of my social media and to my Patreon. That's where you can find extra content from me, such as a monthly buddy read, a monthly readathon, a Discord, live shows, and so much more. So this month we're going to be doing 2 readathons, which I'm very excited about, and I will be reading some of these books during those readathons. I'll also be filming a spoiler-filled reading vlog for The Wicked Deep, so you can head there if you want to see that. And I will also be doing a bunch of live shows and some extra videos, so all of that will be over on my Patreon. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you're all safe and well. I hope you're reading lots of good books, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.